Hello there. This video is on how to do a bed skin for your second gen Dodge Ram. I'm about halfway through, but you didn't miss anything. So to start off, you're going to need a spot weld bit. So I have a cobalt bit. Looks about like this. Works pretty good. Spends good money on a good spot weld drill bit, or get a whole bunch of cheap ones because you might blow through them pretty quick. I don't really need to explain how to use a spot weld drill bit. Just drill, but don't drill too much. And then as I go along, I just been lightly prying and getting all the spot welds separated. So after getting all the spot welds separated, I'm kind of taking this bed skin off in sections here. So I first took off this lower piece here. You have to drill with the spot welds for this piece right here. And I cut it, and then I was able to remove half of that because it's kind of tough to take off all complete because it wraps around here. So then now I'm onto this spot here. So I just did a light cut. You don't want to go, I kind of remedied this a little bit later. You kind of want to cut about here, but not super deep, or even if you want to play it safe, probably here it'd be fine. Otherwise you can cut into the inner structure. I got pretty lucky actually, all things considered. So then just kind of go piece by piece and just take it off in sections. So it appears the top of the box has some adhesive or sealant or some shit on the top here. I'm having good luck just prying it from the back side and working my way down. The front side has like a lip that goes underneath, so it's kind of hard to pry it with a pry tool. So I'm preferring going from the back so far. Some spot welds, if they're stubborn, you want to use a air hammer with a chisel end like this, but you got to be careful because this fucker can put a hole through your side pretty quick. But it's especially handy for like some of these spot welds that they're like, you can kind of see, like this one is just kind of hanging on, but just a little snort with this thing will get her off. So I've got the skin off completely now. It's a bit of a battle around the wheel tub. I had to cut around the wheel well and then kind of cut it to here, kind of get it in the backside, drill the spot welds out, and then use an air hammer from the backside to get it all out. This lower piece is pretty flimsy, so be careful when you're taking the spot welds out for that one as well. What I did is I cut this section out, and then I took the top part off. And then I cut it along here. So when I'm taking the section off there, you can kind of see a piece. It's just a straight strip. Makes it easy to separate. Next step here, I have a flapper disc and a grinder, and I'm just going over like little bits of metal that are left from removing the spot welds. Just kind of clean it up. Before you continue and put the skin on, you're going to want to grab a hammer and dolly. And so when I was removing it, you kind of see here, if we can get some focus, some of the lip got pulled out a little bit. You just go put the dolly in the back side and go around it, hammer it in. Same for, anything else if you possibly bent it out of shape. So I have the bed skin loosely fitted on here, and my first impressions are it's actually pretty good. It's nice and straight. You can see there's a little bit of tilt to that, but compared to this one, but it's also not welded down, so that should come down. Around the wheel well, nice and tight. All pretty good there. Had a little bit of trouble getting it on, but so what I did is you hook it in the back first, and you're gonna have it loosely sitting above the top perches, and then come up to the front here, and I had to bend this a little bit to kind of help it out, but you pry back on the box and you'll be able to kind of slip it over and down, and it clicks in. And then over the wheel well here, it wasn't quite getting on there, so I had to just pry it back a little bit here, and now it sits nice and tight in the wheel well. So I'm gonna pull it off here, clean it off, do some weld through primer, and then get to doing some spot welds. All right, so I got the skin off now, and next step is just to go around it and just lightly scuff up the surfaces where the bed skin will be overlapping. I want to try and retain as much of the original metal coating as possible. So don't be worried about removing it all. You want to retain some of it. So I just get it over with some red Scotch-Brite, kind of clean it up a little bit. I'm going to leave this on. I'm not too sure what purpose it serves, and I think to replace it with some new stuff, I think it's like $200 for the special applicator and stuff like that. I'm like, whatever, I'll leave it. That's my choice though. I'll be using some copper weld-through primer. I've been recommended that by a lot of auto body guys. They say that it works better than the zinc stuff. Another option is the stainless weld-through primer. So after it's all scuffed here with the Scotch-Brite, I have some wax and grease remover. I'll just kind of go over it, and then I'll be spraying all the surfaces with the copper weld-through primer. I'll also be doing the same to the skin. You could maybe get away with not doing it, but I'll be just doing the same thing, scuffing it, coating with the weld-through primer, just for extra insurance. I'm up in Canada here, so I don't want this thing to rust, because chances are, if you're watching this video, either your truck's all dented or it's rusted and you don't want it to rust again. So after getting the weld-through primer on, you'll be putting your skin back on. And if you're doing this with the box off, make sure you have it somewhat flat and level, as if you have it out of shape and you put the skin on and then you clamp everything down, then when you go to put it on the truck, if it's not flat, everything could go out a square. So I'm doing it on the truck, so it is still about where it's going to be. You can also kind of check to see if the body lines line up. Moving on, I have some Clecos. Now these are a great little tool. They're fairly inexpensive, and if you buy them for doing the bed skin, you'll use them for other things as well if you like to fabricate or work on anything. What they basically are is it's like a temporary removable rivet. So you just drill a hole and put the Cleco in, and it holds it there. They even have these cool little clamp ones, you know, in place of a C-clamp. So what I'm doing is I'm just clamping with the clamps, you know, vice grip or big C-clamps like this, and moving along, making sure everything's nice and flush. You know, if something's kind of sticking out, you can hit it with a hammer a little bit, bend it back in there, but just working my way around, Clecoing everything, clamping it, making sure it's on there really nice, till I get the whole panel on. Another thing to look at is this line where the tailgate lines up. It's really nice having another side so you can compare them. So I just noticed when I was doing this, the bend wasn't super sharp right here, so this actually came out. So luckily this was all before paint and it was welded and everything like that, so I just hammered it in a little bit. It caused this to crease, so I just kind of filed it down with a file, but just, you know, something to note, like, you know, always checking down the side, the top, right here, over there, how does it line up with the box, down in the corners there. You know, I lined up the rods, so when I took the old skin off, I didn't touch the rods, I just unbolted them, so they lined right up with the holes down there. Just lots of little things. This can only go in one place, but you just want to pay attention to all the details. All right, so now we're on to spot welding it. Now, I'm gonna imagine a lot of the people viewing this video don't have the expensive proper spot weld gun and just be using the old MIG welder. So what I've found after a little bit of trial and tribulation is that I'll take a, I don't know, 5/16 drill bit, just kind of put a little bit of a concave hole over the outside metal, and then the bed skin's made out of 18 gauge, so you'll set your MIG welder up for 18 gauge. Maybe you're gonna have to mess with the settings a little bit, kind of turning it up, turning it down a little bit. You'll eventually kind of find something that works good. So I've been starting at the center and then kind of like swirling it around, and then you grind it flush. What you'll want to do is, like, if you have any of the scrap metal, like right there, cut it up, overlay it, kind of do a whole bunch of practice runs till you get everything dialed in really well. And then it's gonna look kind of ugly, so I've just been grinding them down. You also want to make sure that, like, when you weld it, that it's holding, because the first couple I did, they welded the outside metal, but they didn't weld it to the inside metal, so it came off. Another note, as I go, I clamp right next to where I'm making the weld so that I know that both the pieces of metal are close together. As well as I have a air blower here, so immediately after it's welded, I hit it with some air to cool it down. Otherwise, you can potentially warp the panel or melt off the primer. All right, for the next step, I had to go and grab every single clamp and vice grip and thing I had in the garage, and even one of them's kind of messed up, so I had to use like a file, and it's a bit of a hillbilly contraption. But instead of welding the wheel tub, I decided to go with some automotive seam sealer adhesive kind of stuff. May have been a little bit easier if I did this at the start before welding everything, but it wasn't too bad. I kind of pushed things in the seam with my finger, and I was able to kind of, if I unbolted that support rod down there, I was able to kind of pry it to the side, and I'm pretty happy anyways. My thoughts are that if I was to spot weld it, it would burn some of the paint off, and I'm thinking an adhesive would work a lot better, so that's what I'm going with here. Some additional things that you don't want to forget: the taillight bracket for the bed skin. You're going to want to take it off your old one because these don't come with it. As well as there's supposed to be a support bracket down here, so you'll have to take that off your old bed skin. That's about it though. So let me know if I messed up in any way or if I'm getting out any bad advice. I try to do this to the best of my abilities. This is the first time doing a bed skin, and this is what I've been able to figure out from consulting other auto body guys, other YouTube videos, posts. I think that's about it. Let me know in the comments below if you enjoyed it, or just drop me a like, and have a good day.